Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Clackamas County Commissioners Issues and Updates on this June 21st, 2022. Administrator Gary Schmidt, what's up first?
Thank you, Chair Smith. First, all commissioners are present. Commissioner Fisher will be walking in any moment now. We're going to jump ahead under the Board of County Commissioners to the Veterans Advisory Council update and presentation. We'll start with that today, and then we'll work backwards. Presenting today, we have Counselor Adam Khosrowbadi, who is Chair of the Veterans Advisory Council and the newly appointed Milwaukee City Councilor. Congratulations, Counselor. And Gus Bedwell, who's our Veterans Service Office Supervisor. Both are veterans. Thank you for your service, gentlemen. Whoever would like to go first, please go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. I appreciate you having us here today. I appreciate you for taking the time and all the work that you guys do.
Sir, would you, it's often difficult to hear. Move
Oh, yeah.
the microphone clear up to your mouth. And
Yes, ma'am.
please introduce yourself.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Adam Khosrowbadi. I'm the Chairman of the Veteran Advisory Council as well as the recently appointed City Councilor of Milwaukee. Thank you for having us here this morning. I appreciate all the Commissioners being here. And thank you for all the hard work that you do for our county. It's greatly appreciated, as I mentioned.
You're welcome.
Today is the presentation for our Veteran Advisory Council update. We won't take too much of your time, but we do have some good things that are happening currently with our council. As you can see, some of the topics up there, I won't go through each one, just give you guys some time to read through them. But there is quite a bit that we are working on. Obviously, we'd like to be more proactive heading into what we're doing and actually get a lot more sound results that we can actually look at and see and really measure better than we have in the past. Getting started with our VAC recruitment, we have been, obviously, we upped the amount of members that we want to have. We do have 3 members that are currently pending their applications. We have 8 vacancies right now. And we also have been doing a VAC orientation for all of our new members, let them know what's expected of them. We are trying to be, as I said, more active as opposed to just meeting and talking. We're trying to actually get boots on the ground to actually get some stuff done. So we make sure that we let them know what is expected of them, and we also have training coming up for our executive officers as well, in terms of holding meetings and what their responsibilities are. The Mental Health Summit, this is something that we've been working on for quite some time. This one's personal to me because of the losses I have suffered. I had just flown back last night at midnight from North Carolina to attend a funeral of a fellow Marine brother that I served with who took his own life. So Mental Health Summit, this one is personal, as it should be for all of us. And we are working on finding a location to set this up at. The purpose of this is to educate more mental health professionals on military culture and what veterans deal with, because I think that's where there's a huge disconnect. Also, to be able to get more mental health care professionals available to see veterans so that no veteran has to wait weeks or months to get mental health or to be seen or to be heard from. Again, we are working on the confirmed location, and we're inviting as many healthcare professionals as we can to be able to attend this so we can get as many of them trained up. And this is just the beginning. We're hoping to continue this on forward because 22 a day is just too many.
Great.
Well, thank you, Adam. At this time, my name is Gus Bedwell. I'm the Human Services Supervisor for the Veteran Services Office. Glad to be here today. Thank you for letting me talk a little bit about the VAC and some of the work the Veteran Services are doing. The first thing I want to talk about is in the VAC, the Veterans Advisory Council, there was a survey that was done, and the whole purpose of the survey was to basically get some feedback from folks in Clackamas County on what is it that they would like to see not only the Veterans Advisory Council do, but also the Veteran Service Office do to help support them. Data was collected for about 6 months. VAC members and Veteran Service Officer members and other network folks sent this survey out electronically and in paper to a variety of locations to try to get as much feedback as possible. Unfortunately, as you can see, we received a very limited number of 55 responses. We were hoping for more, but that at least gave us some robust data to work with. The one thing that I thought was really important about this, and this goes to what Adam was talking about, the fact that we have a need for mental health treatment for our veterans. So that tied in very well to the mental health summit that we're trying to put together. And then also the work around suicide prevention, which is also a theme that's going to be in the mental health summit that's being put together by the Veterans Advisory Council. There were 12 respondents who requested follow-up, and I'm happy to announce that all 12 of them were contacted by the Veteran Service Officer. To include a couple of them actually were able to access some VA benefits that they hadn't been able to access before. So it's very valuable on those two fronts. The one thing that we talked about is anytime you do a survey, you definitely want to talk about what to do next with the results. So one of the things that was commented on is the survey had 23 questions, I think, total. And several people in the survey actually commented, hey, this is a bit long. And so maybe just shortening the survey a little bit, looking at the questions we asked and what are the questions that we need, maybe adding a couple of questions that might just draw out a little bit more. And then also wider delivery of the survey to look at getting more demographics to come to the table. We know there are some demographics of the veteran community that are underserved, and we want to hear from that community. And we honestly didn't hear a lot from the underserved communities in the survey. And then as you can see some other things in there, we are looking at doing another survey because there was a lot of information was provided out of the first survey. So it's definitely a valuable tool to use going forward. A little bit about the Veteran Service Office. I wanted to take a moment just to kind of update you from where we have been since reporting to this group in November. One of the big things I'm really excited about for our team is that we have two main methods of appointments, and that's in person and phone. It's interesting, COVID pushed us to that phone appointment or that virtual appointment. We have a lot of positive comments from people. They're like, hey, I can take a lunch break and I can get my VA stuff taken care of. I don't have to take 3 hours off vacation to come see you guys, or that type of thing. So we have equally amount of folks who are accessing us through phone or email or virtual as those who are walking our door. And we have a staff, at least 2 members of our staff that are in the office on a constant basis to be able to be accessed by veterans or their family in person on a day-to-day basis. We've seen, as you can see there, almost 1,230 appointments since November of 2021, and we're just keep booking and going forward. We're seeing a lot of folks. The one thing I'm really excited about is that you don't have to wait very long to see us, whether on the phone or in person. I mean, if you call on a Monday, the chances that you're going to be in the office by Wednesday, Thursday, or having somebody calling you back by Wednesday, Thursday is huge. And so we don't have very, some offices are unfortunately 2 to 3 weeks out on their appointments because of staffing and other things. And we fortunately are able to see folks typically within that 2 to 3 days. We have been able to bring in, so far as you can see, $6.2 million in just compensation and pension benefits since November. That's not counting the health care and some of the other benefits that veterans are accessing that we don't have a monetary value that we can attach to this. That's just in compensation and pension benefits. A little bit about outreach. One of the things that the Veterans Advisory Committee really wanted to focus on was spending some more time outreach. As we're coming out of COVID, we're wanting to get out there and get folks re-energized about the Veteran Service Office and accessing those benefits. Again, for some of the reasons that Adam's talking about. People have been isolating and not accessing their benefits for a number of reasons, and they need our help. And we want to be there to help. So we have a VAC outreach subcommittee that's meeting on a regular basis and talking about outreach efforts and actually putting that to use. Today, I was actually talking to the subcommittee chair about resources and whatnot they can access from our office on a couple of the outreaches that they're doing. Felicia Writing, who is one of our Veteran Service Officers, is actually our outreach specialist for the office and is constantly looking at ways, both virtually and in person, to do outreach along with the other Veteran Service Officers. Really excited about those efforts, and we're starting to see more things happen. And so I think you're going to hear a lot more from us over the next few months on this is where we're in the community, this is who we're engaging with. We're also looking for activities that aren't just veteran specific, because as we know, veterans don't just hang out at veterans locations. They may hang out at other events that we could access and be able to talk about the benefits and the changes. So with that, that's the end of my presentation, the portion of the presentation. Adam and I are definitely available for any questions, if anybody has any questions. And thank you.
Thank you very much. This group's one of my favorite groups. I'm so happy we offer this service at the county, from the county. And it looks like you're looking toward the future. We appreciate that very much. We have several commissioners that would like to speak. Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for your report. How are you coordinating with active duty military for catching military members who are discharged and coming back to Clackamas County? Are you able to kind of get ahead of that and identify who those people are?
So Commissioner Scholl, thank you for that question. It's a really huge challenge because obviously the military doesn't always give us that information. One of the things that we do, one of the big things with the military community is word of mouth, and we have a couple of individuals on our team that are really good at the before discharge type claims and have done a significant job in that. So when we do something for one of those military members, they go back and tell their friends and go, hey, if you're returning to Clackamas or Washington or Multnomah County and you want somebody who knows how to do these claims, come see the Clackamas County office. They have somebody there or they know who to connect you with. In addition, we do get some information from the Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs when people are returning to the state and want us to access them and help them with their benefits. So it's hit and miss, but we are getting the information. It is coming to us, and we do follow up on it. And I can't count the number of claims we're doing for people who are currently in active duty accessing us before they get back to Oregon.
Good, okay, thank you.
Interesting. Commissioner Schrader.
Yeah, thanks for all you do, folks. And my question is, have you worked closely with like the Clackamas Community College Veteran Center folks, Withicum, Camp Withicum, and some of the folks there, and contacting the ODVA as you move ahead with this with the process that you're going forward to do the mental health summit? Yet, or is that in process?
Yes,
That's in process.
thank you for your question, Commissioner. I appreciate it. Yes, we have been in contact with the Clackamas Community College. We are actually, one of our members works at the Vet Center at
Good,
the community
good,
college,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he's actually isn't he the co-chair?
Yeah, he's the co-chair, I believe.
Is actually,
Yes.
so yes, we are working on that as well. We do have a good communication with them, a good relationship, and they have been a reliable partner for us, so yes.
And is the ODVA aware that you're going to do a mental health summit, and are they willing to give you any resources, or you haven't talked to them yet?
Have you, I don't know.
So we have discussed it with Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs, not in the resources aspect,
Okay.
but it is on their radar that this is something that we're planning. And I do know that one of our plan is to invite the director or leadership
Okay.
to the summit to speak at some point, and once we have some more formal plans.
Yeah. Well, great job. Thank you so much. We've been doing a wonderful job. It's nice to see this moving forward. And it's nice to see the emphasis on our veteran services officers too, because it really does bring services and needed dollars back to this county. So thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for being here today. Great to see you in person versus the Zoom meetings. I've been very accustomed to that. And again, congratulations, Counselor, for your appointment to the Milwaukee City Council. So you mentioned the VSOs, and now they're a couple days, because back several years ago, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, they were, I don't know if it was 1.5 FTE or 2 FTE at the time that were VSOs, but I do remember the gentleman that was one of the VSOs saying that they were like 2+ weeks behind. They couldn't keep up. So now that you're 2 days, that's way better. What's our total FTE VSO count right now? Is it 3.5?
So counting me as a supervisor, there are 4 accredited veteran service officers on our team currently.
Okay. So, and it sounds like Zoom's helping with that quite a bit. Is that the Zoom or the virtual meetings, which obviously adds a great convenience to folks? Are we 4 days a week or 5 days a week?
We are still 4 days a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for all, just let you all know that the VAC, or the Veterans Advisory Committee, has been very active, very engaged members, so it's great to see that. Just again, thank you all for your leadership and being here today.
Thank you, commissioners. No further comments. Thank you for your service. We do greatly appreciate it. Gary?
Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate you.
So Chair, we are now going to move for a long list of consent agenda items. It's the end of the fiscal year, so this is normal to have this many. But we'll start with Water Environment Services. Chair, if you would please convene as that board.
We will recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as a Water Environment Services District.
All right, so this is a Water Environment Services request for consent agenda. Item 1, approval of a public improvement contract with Jesse Rodriguez Construction for the Scott Krieg Park Mount Scott Trail Storm Repair Project, replacing approximately 220 feet of existing storm pipe. Contract value is $152,830. Funding is through Water Environment Services, Surface Water Capital Fund. No county general funds are involved. Ron is the Assistant Director of Water Environment Services. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you, Gary. Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Ron Waringo with Water Environment Services. We have a request for you today to award a contract to Jesse Rodriguez Construction LLC to do a storm pipe repair project. The pipe it's in Happy Valley. It was damaged by some significant root intrusion. It's still flowing and not causing flooding, but it did entrain or bring in dirt and create a sinkhole in an area where people access the Mount Scott Trail system. So it was brought to our attention last summer, and we're proposing to repair that section of pipe. The project was advertised in accordance with ORS and LCRB rules. We received one bid from Jesse Rodriguez Construction LLC and confirmed its acceptability, and are asking to award that bid or award that contract for $152,830.
Any questions or comments on this? Seeing no objections?
Item 2, approval of a grant application to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation to provide funding for construction of the Three Creeks Floodplain Enhancement Project. Grant value is $3,800,000. Funding is through the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. No county general funds are involved.
And again, Commissioners, this item is for our Three Creeks project. As you're aware, we're actively seeking additional funding to supplement our surface water construction fees to do a large floodplain and stream restoration water quality project at that site. We had previously applied for some FEMA funding through the Hazard Mitigation Assistance Program. We were just recently informed we did not receive that funding, or we won't be going forward for consideration with that, but we're certainly actively looking for other funding sources to help us do more out there. So this particular request is your approval to submit a grant for the National Fish and Wildlife Federation National Coastal Resilience Fund to support some of the fish habitat, stream restoration elements of the project that would go along with our funding to scale up what we're doing out there.
Any questions or comments?
Yes, Chair.
Commissioner Savas?
Is there an anticipated matching fund requirement for this?
Yeah, Commissioner Savas, there's not a requirement for matching funds, but we will be providing our surface water funds as a match.
So it costs more?
We
Go ahead.
don't know how much.
Well, yeah, we know right now we have budgeted with our surface water funds is approximately $5 million for what we're currently planning for. This would add to that.
Okay.
So there's not a requirement, but we have matching funds. If that addresses your question.
Yeah, it's awkward because we don't get a chance to see you guys very much and talk about WES issues. And so, and I don't want to take a lot of time here because we have a lot to do, but I did send an email to both the district administrator, Mr. Schmidt, and also to Greg Geist about what the status of the master plan is that was supposed to be done several years ago. And it seems like we're moving on these big projects, but we're not moving on the low-hanging fruit, some of the ones that are flooding. And I do know that there's some people also that are in the vicinity of this project that anticipate or are led to believe that this will eliminate their flooding issues that they're having nearby.
Good.
Not related to the other ones, but I'm understanding that's not the case, that it will not relieve flooding per se. So can you just tell me which one it is?
Sure. It's actually a little bit of both. There is certainly downstream flooding from this site and this project as Mount Scott Creek sort of makes its way through a series of transportation crossings and things like that. This project will not eliminate flooding in that area. It will certainly improve flooding to some degree. And that's what we're communicating in our public meetings. We just had a meeting last week and invited affected downstream property owners working with disaster management to bring them to the table to tell them about the project. And we'll continue to work with those property owners. There's not enough room or space at Three Creeks to completely eliminate flooding. With the floodplain enhancements that we hope to do and the operation of the flood control structure there, we're hoping to decrease the magnitude of flooding and decrease the frequency of flooding, but we can't eliminate it. We're trying to make it better.
Yeah, we'll talk offline. I just want to understand, there's also the upstream flooding piece that I understand that people it's not going to be resolved, perhaps could make it worse. I understand. So let's talk offline.
Okay.
Thank you. Seeing no objections to this moving forward, thank you very much.
Next, Chair, would you please convene as the Development Agency Board?
I will now recess as a Water Environment Services and convene as a Development Agency for the next item.
Next is a request for consent agenda for the Development Agency. 1, approval of a board order and lease to Milne Masonry for Development Agency property for fiscal year 2022-2023. Lease value is $19,104. Funding is through leasee rental payments. No county general funds are involved. Dan, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Chair Smith and Commissioners. Let's just, in the interest of time, cut to the chase. 3 acres in size, you're thinking, why such a low lease rate? This is a property the agency bought to support the Sunrise program, the Sunrise project, on a willing seller, willing buyer basis. We've had it for some time, and now as we move through this Sunrise development of the plan to figure out what the future of Sunrise looks like, we'll be assessing if we need to retain this property or not. This is not 3 acres of pristine site. The majority of the site is sloped. We have dilapidated structures on it. We have a house that can't be occupied. It is basically unimproved. We also, based on the lease rate that you see here, essentially are defraying some costs, to be honest. If we were to lose this tenant and have to take occupancy and operational control of the site, we would have to demolish houses and structures that are out there, place security on the site, and also place fencing on the site. So there are benefits by the lease rate that you see here today. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. In all honesty, we're looking forward to that Sunrise project going forward, that plan development, to see if we need to retain this site. If we do not need to retain this site, we'll be marketing it and selling it. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
That determination will be coming later, whether you want to sell it or not.
That's correct.
Any comments or questions? Any objections to this moving forward? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Chair, would you next convene as a Library Service District Board?
We will now recess as a Development Agency and convene as a Library Service District for the next item.
Thank you. This is a Library Service District request for consent agenda. Item 1, approval of a resolution for a supplemental budget of less than 10% for fiscal year 2021-2022, increasing the total budget and appropriations. Budget is increased by $1,325,836. Total budget is now $24,299,571, and appropriations are increased by $1,325,836. Total appropriations are now $24,299,571. Funding is through additional beginning fund balance, taxes, interest, and penalties. No county general funds are involved. Sarah, go ahead.
Thank you and good morning. Yes, this supplemental budget is to bring our library district budget into alignment with the figures that we now know after the fiscal year has taken place. So at the beginning of the fiscal year, we take our best educated guess, and as things sort out, as you know, we get more accurate numbers, and so we're adjusting both our incoming revenue and outgoing expenditures to most accurately reflect the budget so that we can disperse the final amounts to the libraries in the county.
Any questions or comments? Any objections? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you. Chair, would you now next convene as the Extension and 4-H Service District?
We will recess as a Library Service District and convene as the Extension and 4-H Service District.
Next is the Extension and 4-H Service District request for consent agenda. Item 1, approval of an amendment extending the duration and modifying the rent amount of a lease from Clackamas County for 2 buildings for district facilities. Agreement value is $65,755.20 over 2 years. Total lease value is increased to $129,595.20. Funding is through taxes and other revenue sources. No county general funds are involved. Ed and Jeff, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Ed Johnson, Deputy Finance Director.
Jeff Jorgensen, Facilities Director. So we're here to go ahead and talk about the lease. Ed being the OSU extension side, my representation is being the county. So him requesting the lease, and then us discussing the request to do a lease for 2 years, an amendment to the current lease.
What buildings are we talking about?
Talking about the 200 Warner Milne, which is the one that fronts on Warner Milne, which is the
The
OSU
current
building.
Extension Service building.
Yep, and then the one behind it, which is the module, it's a 174 Warner Milne, so those 2 buildings. So the module and the extension building.
Any questions or comments for the presenters on this?
No.
Any objections? Seeing none. Thank you.
So Jeff, I'm still going to bring you back later because right now the board's meeting as the Extension District. So they just approved it for the Extension District. You'll see this again a little bit later here this morning. Okay, thank you. Chair, would you now convene as the Board of County Commissioners?
I will now recess as the Extension and 4-H Service District and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners.
We're still on consent agenda requests, this time for the Board of County Commissioners, starting with Business and Community Services. 1, approval of a grant agreement with the State of Oregon to provide funding for furniture and construction of the Gladstone Library. Grant value is $500,000. Funding is through the Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund. No county general funds are involved. Sarah, go ahead, please.
Thank you, yes. So this agreement and the next one on the list both are to acknowledge the funding that we received through the state legislators for each of the library projects. Let's see here.
Let's do one at a time, please, sir.
And I'm sorry, Gary, which one did you say first?
We're doing the $500,000 to Gladstone Library.
Thank you. So the $500,000 for the Gladstone Library, so moving back and forth between multiple documents here, was awarded through State Representative Mark Meek's office. And as we've been navigating the path forward for the library projects, we've been working with the State Department of Administrative Services to firm up these agreements. So the one in front of you today for the Gladstone Library is $500,000. That is to pay for furniture and construction. And we have until June of 2024 to spend this. So we are confident that with the delay in the work that we're doing to advance the project, we'll be able to spend it in time.
Any questions or comments for this item? Seeing no objections?
Item 2, approval of a grant agreement with the State of Oregon to provide funding for furniture and construction of the Oak Lodge Library. Grant value is $750,000. Funding is through the Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund. No county general funds are involved.
Thank you. And this is the corresponding grant for $750,000 for the same scope of work for the Oak Lodge Library, and it was provided through State Representative Karin Power's office. And so it has the same construct as the other agreement, and we are here to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections, please continue.
Item 3, approval of an early work amendment for abatement and demolition services as part of a construction manager general contractor contract with P&C Construction Company for construction of the Gladstone Library. The amendment value is $270,054. Contract value is increased to $358,834. Funding is through budgeted county general funds and 50% reimbursement by the City of Gladstone.
Thank you. So the costs in this amendment are to abate and demolish the old Gladstone City Hall, to prepare the site for future construction of the Gladstone Library.
Any comments or questions from the board? Any objections? Seeing none.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, Juvenile Department. Item 1, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Multnomah County for juvenile detention services and associated facility operation and maintenance costs in fiscal year 2022-2023. Agreement value not to exceed $1,841,605. Funding is through budgeted county general funds and juvenile crime prevention basic and diversion funds. Christina, go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners. Christina McMahon. I'm the Juvenile Director here at the county, and I am here to seek your approval of this new intergovernmental agreement. It's really just a capturing of our current state, I would say. We've had this agreement in place for many, many, many years. This agreement reflects a 9.1% increase in our daily detention rate, which went up from $336 approximately to $367 a day. We are in the process, as I've put in the staff report, of negotiating what the true cost of detention is, and are going to be working with Multnomah County very closely to try to come up with that. So happy to answer any questions that you have. As Gary said, a little more than half of this is paid for through pass-through money we receive from the state of Oregon through the Oregon Youth Authority. The rest is county general fund.
I believe we discussed this earlier, didn't we? We had a policy, we had a session on this, about the
it's been a
reimbursement
while.
rate, on this rate for Multnomah County beds would be going up.
I mentioned it during my time here for the Budget Committee.
Right.
Yes, I was kind of giving you a heads up that this was coming.
And here we are. Any other questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Next, Finance Department, item 1, approval of an amendment extending the duration and modifying the rent amount of a lease with Homestead Building for the Homestead Building Housing, the Sandy Behavioral Health Center, and Women, Infants, and Children Program satellite offices for fiscal year 2022-2023. Amendment value is $52,800. Total lease value is increased to $205,200. Funding is through fees for services and Women, Infants, and Children Program grant funds. No county general funds are involved. Jeff, go ahead.
Jeff Jorgensen, Facilities Director. So this is a one-year lease, basically to go ahead and have the transition to the new clinic, but behavioral health, WIC are in the Homestead Building right now, and it's just a one-year lease to go ahead and lengthen it out so they can do the transition, just for the property.
Any questions or comments for the presenter? Seeing no objections?
Item 2, approval of a lease with Emmanuel Lutheran Church for overflow parking at the Sandy Health Clinic. Lease value is $28,064 for 3 years and 3 months. Funding is through fees for services. No county general funds are involved.
With the new clinic, you basically get 7 parking spots, 6 parking spots, 1 ADA, very restricted. If we don't, through Emmanuel Lutheran Church, we've negotiated to have the parking lot on the other side of the police station in Sandy and the dental clinic, so it's straight across from the church. This lease will actually help us to go ahead and have staff, patient parking also that's not on street there, but it's for the 3 years, 3 months.
Any questions or objections?
Just quickly, and maybe it's a question for later on when Rod's up here from H3S, and that is that I'd like to kind of get I think last week we had something on this consent agenda for a Sandy project for the health center or the clinic or something like that. So I'm just wondering if this was anticipated or it's an increase, but I know there's been a number of either change orders or increases that came out of this. I'm not so sure that's under your
It's
umbrella.
actually not under my jurisdiction on that.
That's what I
We're
thought.
working with community development on it, but no, those change orders are different. From the get-go, we've been told that they need additional parking, and that's where we got involved with negotiating the church for the parking.
Okay.
Rod, would you please come forward and answer this question now for the board?
So as far as I've heard, the parking issue is not related to the change order issues. And so it was anticipated that we would need to find additional parking. And I work with some, and there's a guy across the street that had some space, but it was over millions of dollars. And so we decided to go with this plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item 3, approval of an amendment. Wait, Jeff, one more. Approval of an amendment extending the duration and modifying the rent amount of a lease to the Clackamas County Extension and 4-H Service District for 2 buildings for district facilities. Amendment value is $65,755.20 for over 2 years. Total lease value is increased to $129,595.20. Funding is through leasee rental payments. No county general funds are involved. This is a companion piece to what you just approved for the Extension and 4-H Service District. You're now reviewing it as the county commissioners. Anything you want to add, Jeff, to your prior statements?
No, hopefully, we're looking for that potential building of having OSU, so 2 years gives us some leeway there just to go ahead and make sure. And we have the new IGA that came out earlier this year, so.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments? Any objections to this moving forward? Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Next, community corrections. All 9 of the community corrections items are for the same purpose, but for different cities and amounts. So I'll read the first one, and Malcolm will explain it, and then we'll do the other ones pretty quickly. So item 1, approval of an amendment extending the duration of an intergovernmental agreement with Oregon State Parks to provide offender work service crews at Milo McIver State Park. Projected annual revenue is $10,000. Funding is through Oregon State Parks. No county general funds are involved.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Smith and Commissioners. Malcolm McDonald, Clackamas County Sheriff's Office and Director of Community Corrections. All 9 IGAs are for our community service program. It's the one area we bring in revenue. Primarily, the revenue is to offset the cost of fuel, tools, and just general operations. Again, this is community services alternative to utilizing jail as a intervention or sanction or sentence. Prior to the pandemic, we averaged about 34,000 hours of work done in Clackamas County. It's a benefit to our municipalities and the county itself as an alternative to jail. And that calculated to about 2,000 days in jail that weren't served or weren't utilized, and this is a much less expensive option also. So.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections to this. Next.
Just for the record, I'm going to read the other 8 just by the city and amount. So item 2 is for Oregon City, will pay us $10,000. Item 3, the city of Milwaukee will pay us $6,000. Item 4, the Clackamas Community College will pay us $5,000. Item 5, Metro Regional Government will pay us $11,050. Item 6, Clackamas River Water will pay us $6,000. Item 7, City of Wilsonville will pay us $60,000. Item 8, City of Happy Valley will pay us $40,000. Item 9, North Clackamas Water Commission will pay us $50,000 over 5 years.
Any questions or comments on any of these items? Seeing no objections, thank you, Malcolm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, Health, Housing, Human Services, only 25. We'll go as efficiently as we can. Item 1, approval of the final 2022-2026 Community Development Consolidated Plan for submission to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to maintain eligibility for grant funds. Combined value of grants is $3,528,473 for fiscal year 2022-2023. Funding is through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. No county general funds are involved. Rod, go ahead.
Yes, and this one will be a little bit longer than the rest. There's about 5 of these, but just to give you some history, in addition to the 2 community meetings in October and November of 2021 and the April 7th, 2022 public hearing, the consolidated plan was posted and available for public comment beginning March 16th through Monday, April 11th. No changes to the plan were required due to comments received. All public comments were accepted and added to the plan, and we've been before you a couple of times on this particular piece. You'll see the rest. The consolidated plan has all of our applications, all of the information in it. That's the big packet. The next 3 or 4 here will be the individual pieces that make up the consolidated plan.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Item 2, approval of the final 2022 Community Development Action Plan for submission to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to maintain eligibility for grant funds. Combined value of grants is $3,528,473 for fiscal year 2022-2023. Funding is through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. No county general funds are involved.
And for the public, the annual action plan was posted and available for public comment beginning March 16th until April 11th. The board held a public hearing on April 7th to review the draft 1-year action plan.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 3, approval of a grant application to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the 2022 Home Grant to fund affordable housing, rental assistance, and community housing development programs. Grant value is $1,133,026. Funding is through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, and the annual HOME, H-O-M-E, Investments Partnership Grant provides funding for affordable grant administration, housing projects, tenant-based rental assistance, and funding for community housing development organizations.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 4, approval of a grant application to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the 2022 Emergency Solutions Grant to fund homeless services assistance programs. Grant value is $192,180. Funding is through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, submission of the grant application materials will enable Clackamas County to receive the $192,000 that Gary spoke to in emergency solution grants funds during the 2022 program year.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 5, approval of a grant application to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the 2022 Community Development Block Grant to fund community construction projects, public facility improvements, and public services. Grant value is $2,203,267. Funding is through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. No county general funds are involved.
Yeah, no additional information on that one.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 6, approval of a local subrecipient grant agreement with Tudos Juntos to provide youth-focused substance use prevention programming in rural Clackamas County middle schools. Grant value is $169,500 over 3 years. Funding is through the county marijuana tax funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, the goal of the Youth Substance Abuse Prevention Program is to provide youth-focused substance use prevention programming responsive to community needs.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 7, approval of a local subrecipient grant agreement with Northwest Family Services to provide youth-focused substance use prevention programming in North Clackamas PreventNet community schools and through the Vibrant Futures Coalition. Grant value is $279,000 over 3 years. Funding is through the county marijuana tax funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yeah, the next three will be the same. So these are the goal of the Youth Substance Abuse Prevention Program is to provide youth-focused substance use prevention programming responsive to community needs. The next three will be the same. They're all youth substance abuse programs.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 8, approval of a local subrecipient grant agreement with Oregon City Together to provide youth-focused substance use prevention programming in Oregon City. Grant value is $139,500 over 3 years. Funding is through county marijuana tax funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yeah, use substance in Oregon City, as Gary mentioned.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 9, approval of a local subrecipient grant agreement with LifeWorks Northwest for children's relief nursery services to families in Clackamas County. Grant value is $144,000 over 2 years. Funding is through budgeted county general funds.
Yes, this one's for relief nursery services. They'll be provided at the families with children at risk of and/or that have experienced child abuse or neglect.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 10, approval of an amendment increasing funding and adjusting budgeting of a federal subrecipient grant agreement with Foothills Community Church on behalf of its Malala Adult Community Center for the provision of mental health, transportation, and referral services to Clackamas County residents. The amendment value is $10,000. The grant value is increased to $187,884. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Human Services. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, the next five will be relatively the same, just in different cities. For older adults living, this one is for Malala area. Services include congregate and home-delivered meals, health promotion activities, transportation, information and referral activities.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 11, approval of an amendment increasing funding and adjusting budgeting of a federal subrecipient grant agreement with Oregon City on behalf of its Pioneer Community Center for the provision of meal, health, transportation, and referral services to Clackamas County residents. Amendment value is $2,269. Grant value is increased to $188,232. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Human Services. No county general funds are involved.
Same services as before, but in Oregon City.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
All right, item 12, same thing Rod just talked about, this one for Lake Oswego Adult Community Center. The amendment value is $10,000 for the total grant value, $134,877.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 13, same item, this one for Friends of Canby Adult Center. Amendment value is $32,957. The total grant value is now $269,692.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 14, same purpose. This one for the Wilsonville Community Center. Amendment value is $10,000. Grant value is increased to $128,410.
Any questions or objections? Seeing none.
All right, item 15, approval of a local subrecipient grant agreement with Community Living Above to provide youth-focused substance use prevention programming in West Lynn. Grant value is $132,000 over 3 years. Funding is through county marijuana tax funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, youth substance program for Canby area, or West Lynn area, I'm sorry.
Comments or questions? Seeing no objections.
Item 16, approval of an amendment increasing funding and adjusting budgeting of a federal subrecipient grant agreement with Friends of the Estacada Community Center Incorporated for the provision of meal, health, transportation, and referral services to Clackamas County residents. The amendment value is $7,253, and a grant value is increased to $163,900. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Human Services. No county general funds are involved.
Yeah, these are similar to before. They'll provide congregate and home delivered meals, health promotion activities, transportation, and referral services for folks in Estacada in this particular one.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
All right, item 17 is for the same purpose Rod just discussed. This one is for the Hoodland Senior Center. Amendment value is $11,592. The total grant value is now $94,320.
Yes, no comments.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 19 is the same purpose you just discussed. This one is for the Sandy Senior and Community Center. Amendment value is $12,000. The grant value is increased to $206,706.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 19 is for the same purpose. This one is for the Gladstone Senior Center. Amendment value is $10,000. Grant value is increased to $66,058.
No comments.
No objections either.
Okay, item 20, this is new. Approval of an amendment increasing funding and extending the duration of an agency services contract with Durgish LLC for on-call hotel rooms for temporary housing participants. The amendment value is $246,000. The contract value is increased to $1,076,400. Funding is through the American Rescue Plan Act funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, so this would provide on-call hotel rooms for temporary housing participants. The program provides safety and temporary housing to this vulnerable population, while partner agencies assist them with obtaining permanent housing. There are approximately 67 households still housed in the hotels.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, just a question. So it's an increase. So are we adding more rooms available, or is just the price per room increasing?
This is just using the funds that have been made available to the county. We're able to continue the program and use those up so that we don't have to return those back. So we're not increasing the program.
Well, it says here, well, maybe I'm looking at the wrong one. It says here, or maybe I'm looking at the other one. So it says 214,000 for revised, but I was looking at both of them. So let me go back to this one's the Econolodge one, right?
Yes, this is
So this one's revised by $246,000.
Yes.
So that's an increase that was because of cost or because of capacity?
To the capacity.
Okay,
Yes.
great, thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no objections, thank you.
Item 21, approval of an amendment increasing funding and extending the duration of an agency services contract with SRS LLC for on-call hotel rooms for temporary housing participants. The amendment value is $214,000. Contract value is increased to $1,014,400. Funding is through the American Rescue Plan Act funds. No county general funds are involved.
This is the same, but at the budget end, and it extends services to September 30. So.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 22, approval of a federal subrecipient grant agreement with Clackamas Service Center for provision of food support to individuals and families impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Grant value is $48,500. Funding is through the federal pass-through funds from the Oregon Department of Housing and Community Services. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, this is to assist with the lease of the food program space and to purchase needed food to augment their existing program and provide the capacity to address the needs of participants. They accept referrals into the food box program, provide food resources with minimal barriers.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 23, approval of a local subrecipient grant agreement with Project Access Now to fund a community health worker for chronic disease prevention planning and outreach to high-risk populations in Clackamas County. Grant value is $75,000 for 18 months. Funding is through Public Health Restricted Funds, Health Share of Oregon, and budgeted county general funds.
Yes, primarily the scope of this community health worker will be to work with people with diabetes and obesity prevention, including the distribution of culturally specific information materials and social determinants of health, screening focused on food insecurity, and referrals to further wraparound services.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 24, approval of an amendment extending the duration of a federal subrecipient grant agreement with Central City Concern for the Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program. Grant value remains at $615,305.52. Funding is through the U.S. Department of Justice and budgeted county general funds.
Yeah, the main purpose of this is just to extend the contract term from August 30th, 2022. So it just gives us more time to put the permanent contract in place.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 25, approval of a local subrecipient grant agreement with Clackamas Women's Services to continue providing domestic violence shelter and supportive services to survivors of domestic violence in Clackamas County. The grant value is $858,784 over 4 years. Funding is through budgeted county general funds.
Yes, the goal of this project is to provide emergency shelter or housing and support services to survivors of domestic or sexual violence and their children to increase short and long-term safety.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections. Thank you, Rod Cook.
Thank you.
Thank you. So all of these consent agenda items for the various boards will be on this Thursday's business meeting agenda. Thank you. Back to the issues list. 2021 Americans with Disabilities Act Annual Report. This is the ADA for the Transition Plan for the Public Rights of Way. Dan Johnson, Director of Transportation and Development, will present. There was a memo in your packet. Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you so much. In 2017, the Board of County Commissioners adopted an American with Disabilities Act Transition Plan for Public Rights of Way. This is mostly dealing with ramps, ADA ramps throughout the county, of which we have over 4,000. The requirements of the plan are basically to look 5 years ahead to see how you're going to start dealing with making sure these ADA ramps are up and are compliant with current ADA standards. Essentially, our plan calls for an annual report to share with you the progress that we've made over a given year to meet this objective. For those of you who weren't here with the adoption of this plan, let's be clear. We have a very low percentage of our ramps that are in compliance. Does that mean they were all built incorrectly? No. It means some were. Some were not built by the county. They were built through private development, and or standards have changed for ADA ramps throughout the years. But essentially, our initial compliance rate was about 2.8% of our ramps, which is pretty low. What I can tell you, though, is that over the last couple of years, we have continued to grow our percentages of compliance, and that now our current work over 2021 has got us to a compliance rate of about 11.7%. Attachment A provides some good information regarding work done over the last year, and I also want to highlight the work for 2022, which is going to make a significant impact in bringing a lot of these projects into compliance. And I say a significant impact just to make sure the board is clear. We are required by statute now that if we touch or maintain, repave, resurface any road in an urban area where ADA improvements are provided, we have to update all of those ADA improvements. And we've talked about this before, how it takes a 1-year paving program and kind of makes it a 2-year paving program, because we do the ADA improvements first, then we come down back and do the grind and inlay and resurfacing of the roadway. Those projects for next year, which are pretty significant: Sunnyside Road ADA improvements from 122nd Avenue to 132nd. Sunnyside ADA improvements from 132nd to 162nd. We have the Clackamas Regional Center Mobility Project, which is just wrapping up, which will be counted in next year's total, and updated a number of ADA amenities. D Street, which is down over off of Fuller Road, kind of north of Audi, there is bringing ramps into compliance. And then last but not least, we have the Jennings Road project, which will be doing that as well. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have to the best of my ability. I have Mike Besner listening in case so listen closely, Mike, if I can't answer a question.
Are these federal and state mandates?
They are federal.
Federal, and how much dollars are they giving us to
Zero.
comply? Zero. So where does the money come from?
Road fund.
Road fund, and so if we make, if we're in compliance with the federal law from our county road fund, then needed repairs to our county roads won't be done, I assume.
They are being done, and one thing I want to emphasize is the fact that the importance is having the plan in place. Where you've had legal issues arise regarding jurisdictions in the past is where plans weren't developed and weren't adhered to. So having the plan is the most important thing. And then in regards to the question, Chair, we have built the additional time into our program and project delivery. And I can tell you that it does have an impact. It costs additional funds to improve all the ADA improvements associated with any given road. But those have been incorporated and modeled through the work that we're doing through our 5-year CIP.
So I've been driving across the county, just like my commissioners have, and I've seen a lot of construction going on in the smaller cities, larger cities in our county of this activity being done. And how much has Clackamas County expended so far since this federal mandate came down?
I would have to get back to you on that number.
I heard a number of about 22 million, but I can't attest to that either. But my point is, this is an unfunded mandate that is taking our local and state resources, I think, away from maybe some potholes. And I know the road fund is continuing and they're doing exemplary work. But my point is, yet another unfunded mandate put on local governments that is taking funds away from something else that the citizens said that they wanted. We have a couple commissioners. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, well, it's kind of it's unfunded. I'm not sure it's really a mandate. It's either, because of the lawsuit, it's either you comply or you're subject to a lawsuit, essentially. And that's why the plan's so important. So everyone took a hit. ODOT, counties, cities, everyone took a hit who owns facilities like that. So, and we'll be spending money probably as long as we're all here, and then some on getting these ADA compliant facilities in place. I have a question. If we have a public building, let's say it's a library, for example, library district or water district or sewer district, and there's a county road in front, there's no ADA facilities. Is there an opportunity for that particular district to help with the funding on that? Because I've noticed that there's not much, I would think our government buildings should be one priority, but there's not a lot, or if anything, any facilities nearby some of our public buildings in the county.
So the answer is yes. They can always offer to update and adjust and modify and correct ADA elements and amenities. It also is, and that's for ones that are existing and currently there. You also have to think about like new facilities. Those goes through an entitlement process, through a land use process, be it in a city or be it out in unincorporated Clackamas County. Through that development process, they would more than likely be required to improve those to current standards as a part of their frontage improvements. So it depends on the scenario. I mean, if it's new or if it's existing, all of our work right now is aligned with urban paving packages. So, and that's where we strategically placed all of our funds to make sure that when we're doing urban paving, we are improving those ADA improvements. We don't have currently a program that says this ADA this ADA ramp or that ADA ramp. It's ramps by large projects. It seems like the most efficient and effective way to use our money and leverage our money to the greatest extent feasible.
Yeah, I'll just close with this, and that it seems to me that if we have a road that's already improved, it's not in need of paving, it may not be paved for 10 or 15 years, that's a long time to wait for the ADA improvements. It seems incumbent upon the building in which the public is being invited to take those steps, at least to get their facility, not necessarily on the right of way, but at least their facility up to date. And maybe there's a way of just kind of working collaboratively with your department to maybe do it all in one fell swoop. Right? The DTD part where we own the right of way and their part where they own the building.
And if it is our right of way, and if they are, depends on the situation associated with the building, we are commenting about that through our development review process if they're getting entitled, and we are always stand willing to have discussions with anybody looking to improve those ADA enhancements.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I really appreciate you coming forward on this. And when we approved this plan, one thing I was really, I don't know if comforted is the word, but reassured about was that so much of the improvements are done when work is already going to be happening in the area, which is why the plan, as Commissioner Savas stated, is so important. But then Commissioner Smith brought up an interesting question in my mind, is that, yes, there is a cost because you have to do work, and the ADA requirements do require that. But I'd be interested, and I'm not going to ask you to get this to me today, but my brain would like to know at some point, do we know what the delta is between what the additional cost is for this, for doing this, or is it do we just fold it in within the project management of how we're proceeding?
I'll get the actual number to you. I know we track that number, what the delta is and the additional costs. I want to say it's in the $2 to $3 million range for a given year, but I'd have to confirm that and get back to you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. Any other comments about this presentation today? Gary, this is just a report, an annual report on the program.
Right, great.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you so much.
Gary, what's up
Okay,
next?
thank you. Next, Budget Committee appointment interviews. So Commissioners, as you know, 2 members of the Budget Committee's term expired June 30, 2022. They are James Carn and James Rhodes. Now, they were just appointed to fill the remainder of 2 existing terms. We did a recruitment process, and they were the only 2 applicants that applied, James and James. So my question is, do you still want to interview them, or you just want to appoint them outright to have full terms on the Budget Committee?
Well, I do have a preference to this, but my commissioners can all weigh in. I would just as soon appoint them outright. But commissioners, you can certainly weigh in and tell me what you think.
I agree with that.
You don't think we should give them a budget test to see what they retain from the last few days of budgeting? No, I agree with you, Chair Smith.
Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I would say that if they manage to endure one of our budget meetings, they deserve to be reappointed.
Yeah, they deserve to come back, absolutely. So I think that's unanimous. Do we need to make a motion?
Yeah, no, we don't have the paperwork for you today, but if you'd like to just approve it today, or we can bring you the paperwork and formally do it next week.
Well, why don't we just, I'll entertain a motion to approve James Carn and James Rhodes for the Budget Committee.
So moved.
Thank you.
Seconded.
And the motion has been made by Commissioner Savas to appoint James Carn and James Rhodes to the Budget Committee. It's been seconded by Commissioner Scholl. Further discussions? Seeing none, Tony, please call the poll.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Chair Smith?
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank both of the Jameses for participating and wanting to serve again on the Budget Committee.
Very good. Thank you. Next, review of your business meeting agenda for this Thursday, June 23rd, 2022, 10 a.m. You'll have all the 40 consent agenda items from today you approved, and you have 3 public hearings. 2 of them are boundary changes around the Tri-City Service District, and the third is the first reading of an ordinance repealing Chapter 8.10 of the code, which is short-term rentals. That'll be the first hearing this Thursday. If you have any questions on any items, please let me know prior to Thursday. Next is Commissioner Communications.
Commissioner Savas, I'm going to have you go first. You might need to leave.
Yeah, I have to leave early too.
Right.
So I want to just alert, when we talked last week, where is it? You all seem to be in agreement that you would like to see perhaps an option for the short-term rentals. We've gotten a lot of emails since, well, for a while now. But more importantly, I have something, but I wanted to run by Mr. Madcorn, and we have not crossed paths yet. So I'm going to, actually, before I leave, I'm going to go down in his office and see him. But I do want to say that Commissioner Scholl had forwarded us some model from another state, I believe, some material on short-term rentals. It was a great,
Yes.
it was a great piece. I actually encourage you to read it because it really captured not everything, well, everything that we discussed and considered, and then some other ideas. But I think there's some really good ideas in there. And I really think, again, we can do this for in between for like no general fund cost, frankly. And I'll be meeting with also with one of the TDC members about some of the nuances of that. But hopefully to have something, and I'm sorry, but that we don't have it as of yet. I forgot that yesterday was a holiday, so I anticipated coming down here yesterday. And also just didn't cross paths with Mr. Madcore. But I'm working on that, and hopefully we'll have something that's in between outright canceling or what's the word? Not resigning, but the repealing.
Repealing.
Yeah, something between repealing and certainly I don't think there's any appetite that I know of for anyone to pay an $800, $600 fee. So definitely that's not palatable.
And that is for review tomorrow during the business meeting. We can do that. Okay. All right. Anything else, Paul?
That's what I have.
If you want to be excused to go
Great.
take care of that, that's okay with me. Thank you. Up next, Commissioner Schrader.
Yeah, I just wanted to let folks know I had a appointment that I went to my first meeting yesterday from the National Associations of Counties, and I am now a member of the Economic Mobility Leadership Network. And that is a cohort, you have to be chosen, I had to apply. It's a cohort of county elected leaders focused on helping residents move up the economic ladder. And this includes all the ranges of interconnected issues that comprise economic mobility, including housing, workforce development, child care, all of those kinds of things that kind of come together to allow people to move from generational poverty up the ladder and to sustain their economic mobility. So I have been invited to go to a number of convenings. I'll be attending Palm Beach County, Florida. That'll be in September. In December, we'll be going to Mobile County, Alabama. And then in 2023, we'll be going to Coconino County in Arizona. This is at all no cost to the county. This is funded by a Bill and Melissa Gates Foundation grant. It's all covered by the National Association of Counties. I'm very interested in doing this because generational poverty, as we know, it does exist in our county. We have identified where in the county that exists, and this gives us an opportunity to look at models across the nation. It's everywhere from Arizona to Texas, Pennsylvania, New York, Oregon. Multnomah County has been involved in this, Virginia, Florida, West Virginia, Ohio. So it's a broad group of folks who are going to be looking at this. And I hope to bring back some solutions across the board with all the domains involved between workforce and everything else that we're doing to kind of work on this really important issue. So,
Thank you
just
for
found out
that.
yesterday.
New ideas are always welcomed. Commissioner Fisher, you're up.
Yeah, thank you. So I've also been talking with and learning more about short-term rentals and the way that different jurisdictions around the state are dealing with fees and costs. And so I think we'll have an interesting opportunity and discussion stemming from that. So that's good. I had the wonderful opportunity of participating in some Juneteenth celebrations around the county. There were quite a few, which was nice to see. And also I participated with our employees during the Pride Parade. And Gary Schmidt gets extra kudos from carrying the banner along with Shannon Bass. I was offered the duty, but I kind of shirked it so that I could talk to people, our employees, as we were going down that parade route. And it was I was really pleased with how many people cheered for Clackamas County. There we were, and there was a lot of hurrahs for Clackamas County being there in the parade. So that was a good experience.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, good morning. Short-term rentals is a very in the news sort of topic. I hope we get a lot of people here for that first hearing. It's going to be important. This Friday morning at 9 o'clock, I'll be in Lyons, Oregon, and Marion County with the rest of the board from the Association of Oregon and California Counties to meet with the Bureau of Land Management and get a tour of ONC lands, and with a look at those lands that were burnt in 2020 and what recovery action has been done on them. And I'll be back here by 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Commissioners, we have this evening a community leaders meeting. It's on Zoom. It starts at 6. An opportunity for those out there who attend to ask the commissioners questions. That's going to be happening at the beginning of the meeting in case anybody else had a conflict that we needed. Many of us are double booked, so we arranged that agenda a little bit to have questions for commissioners at the beginning. I look forward to seeing you then. Seeing no further business before this meeting today, we are adjourned.